Well, good evening once again. Day 1181 of the Trump administration, 203 days remaining until our next presidential election. And the takeaway from today's White House coronavirus briefing was this. Putting aside the death toll, where Donald Trump is concerned, things are looking pretty good out there. All of his statements today adhered to his hard and fast rules of phraseology. When feeling victimized, he says nobody thought it was possible. Virtually anything he's promising in the future is in a very short period of time. And when he wants credit for something, it's something the likes of which nobody's ever seen. There was a lot of that today, and along the way, he pretty much blamed the World Health Organization for what's happened to us after, of course, praising their work early on in this crisis before it became his crisis. Today was mostly about this grand reopening he's planning. He says it's going to happen in some places very, very shortly. And he did that one better, promising it almost immediately. He says he's going to authorize each governor to open their individual states. Of course, that's not a thing. They're already governors. The president said our country is like a puzzle made up of beautiful pieces. He said today, we'll open it up in beautiful little pieces. About knowing who is sick and who is well before everyone streams back into work, he said the individual governors have testing and companies can do testing. He said it will be a very beautiful process. When a reporter quoted Dr. Fauci as saying we didn't have enough testing yet, the president shot back, I don't know what he said. Nobody knows. On Democratic governors, he said, I think they like me. Outside the Rose Garden in the real world, the death toll in our country today is nearing 30,000 souls. We've not yet tested a full 1% of our citizens. We already know of more than 600,000 confirmed cases. Meanwhile, New York City today revised its death toll to include an additional 3,700 people presumed to have died from the virus, which means the city alone has now passed 10,000 deaths. And New York State now has more than 200,000 cases, about a third of the entire U.S., as the number of worldwide infections approaches 2 million. And as the International Monetary Fund is warning us, the global economy will this year likely suffer the worst crisis since the Great Depression of the 1930s. The president decided this was as good a time as any to punish, to threaten the World Health Organization for its handling of the virus.
Today, I'm instructing my administration to halt funding of the World Health Organization while a review is conducted to assess the World Health Organization's role in severely mismanaging and covering up the spread of the coronavirus. The WHO's attack on travel restrictions put political correctness above life-saving measures and defended the actions of the Chinese government, even praising China for its so-called transparency. It would have been so easy to be truthful. And so much death has been caused by their mistakes.
This was the same president who posted this back in February, and we quote, the coronavirus is very much under control in the USA. We are in contact with everyone and all relevant countries. CDC and World Health have been working hard and very smart. In recent weeks, Trump has hinted he's eager to reopen at least parts of our country as soon as he possibly can, despite the risks that are obvious to us all. Tonight, the Washington Post reports one team of government officials, it's being led by FEMA and the Centers for Disease Control, has come up with a public health strategy that's part of a larger White House plan to get people back to work. The document, quote, has been discussed at the White House, including by members of the coronavirus task force. President Trump wants a final plan on reopening the country ready within days so he can issue suggestions for some states to reopen May 1. Several of the nation's governors have said they plan to lift their states' restrictions when they feel it's safe to do so. That's the job of a governor. Trump has incorrectly insisted that he had, quote, total authority to order those restrictions lifted. Today, he laid out his strategy for reopening our country.
I will be speaking to all 50 governors very shortly, and I will then be authorizing each individual governor of each individual state to implement a reopening and a very powerful reopening plan of their state at a time and in a manner as most appropriate.
What if they don't listen to you or take your advice or obey you? Will you consider taking away their federal funding?
I don't want to say that. They'll listen. They'll be fine. I think we're going to have a good relationship. They need the federal government, not only for funding, and I'm not saying take it away, but they need it for advice. They'll need maybe equipment that we have.
In a new interview with the Associated Press, Dr. Anthony Fauci made it clear that we are, quote, not there yet when it comes to potentially reopening the country on the president's timeline. Tonight on this network, Fauci was asked what needs to be in place before stay-at-home rules are relaxed.
You've got to be able to identify, isolate, get out of circulation, and do adequate and appropriate contact tracing as new cases arise. If you start pulling back on mitigation, physical separations, there will be infections. The real proof of the pudding of the success of this reentry is how quickly and effectively you identify them, you get them out of circulation, you give them care where needed, and you do contact tracing so that you don't have a beginning of a peak.
Now, as for coronavirus testing, we still have no way to reliably answer the basic question of who has the virus and who might have immunity. Tonight, Politico reporting the number of coronavirus tests analyzed each day by commercial labs in our country plummeted by more than 30% over the past week, even though new infections are still rising in a lot of places. At the White House, Trump appeared to signal that the issue would not be an obstacle to his goal of getting the economy up and running.
Individual states, when the governors will be held accountable. If they need things, we'll help them get those things, but we want them to do their testing. We want them because they're equipped to do testing. We've created incredible tests, and we've done more testing than anybody's ever done in the world.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.